Here we go!
Hey there, my name's Bubba.
My name's Anna.
And you're tuned into Church Nerds, a proud member of the Love Thy Nerd podcast network, and a podcast that is just as real as Elf on a Shelf and just as good as any fruitcake you've ever had.
I think the elephant in the room is that we are terrible at recording this podcast.
No. Come on.
Which, almost, I don't know. You were threatening again not to record it today because you might hear that I sound a little maybe nasally.
No, they can't hear anything over the Jingle Bell earrings.
These are my Christmas earrings that a coworker gave me. Which, story time, let's just dive right in. I basically had to re-pierce my left ear to put them in. I've always had problems with the piercing in my left ear. I have already had it re-pierced one time. And I don't know. It just feels like it grows together easily. And so when I recently tried to put earrings in and had to work really hard at it. And then, I don't know, I had to work even harder at it this time. So I'm now trying to go through the process that they tell you to go through when you get a piercing, which is like you need to leave it in and you need to clean it. And I'm pretending that I have just pierced my ears for the first time, or else I'm really going to lose this hole in my ear.
Hey, I offered to do it for you.
Yeah, I declined. No, thank you.
Yeah, but I offered.
Well, anyway, that's the story of my Christmas earrings, but they have jingle bells in them.
They really do. And if you ever forget, if they have jingle bells, just listen, you'll hear them.
I can take them out.
No, we don't want your ear holes to close up again.
Well, I won't take this one out. I'll just take this one. It's closer to the microphone anyway.
I think it'll be fine. Well, hey, we're back. This is a pretty special episode. This is our Christmas episode for the year 2024, year of our Lord. And we're going to get into why we haven't been recording and all that stuff here in just a minute. Thank you for everybody who's reached out and said, hey, where is Church Nerds? What's going on? Are you guys okay? Like, what's happening?
We're alive.
We're here.
We are alive. We are still married.
We are still married. Good job, us.
Handshake.
Yeah. Well, for the podcast listeners, we did just shake hands. We're dressed ridiculously today.
Because
it's Christmas.
It's almost Christmas. At the time of recording is Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve's Eve.
Yeah.
Yep. And this is usually when we're like, oh, presents for the kids. We should probably
buy those.
Yeah.
Hey, we're about to talk about how ridiculously busy we've been.
Yeah.
But I will say that I feel far more on top of Christmas Day stuff. Than usual for this time of year.
Smaller under the tree presents this year. I think a more concerted effort.
Maybe
with presents under the tree. I don't know. We'll see. For the kids at least.
For the kids.
But hey, so that's actually kind of leading into something that I wanted to talk about, like our Christmas traditions of waiting to the very last minute to even wrap these presents. Like we've got a lot of our presents.
That is not a tradition.
Is it not?
It's not a tradition.
Feels like a tradition because we do it every year.
It's just something that happens, but I think traditions require intentionality.
I feel like we're
and
pretty
that one
intentional.
is definitely not intentionality. It's the opposite.
Wrapping Christmas presents and folding laundry, I feel like are in the same level of intentionality. We'll just do it later.
Ugh,
we choose to do it later, right?
I hate folding laundry just so much. If there were one chore that I could hire someone to do for me, it would be folding laundry, not the washing. Like we could do the washing.
Usually we can do the washing. Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, stuff that we usually do.
Things we usually do. We usually watch movies. I know we're unique in this. We usually watch Christmas movies during this holiday season.
And especially when we go on break, we will usually watch one Christmas movie per night. Like as soon as the kids are done with school for the year.
Yeah, we have not done that.
We watched one last night.
Last night, yeah.
We watched Noelle.
Which I was like, oh man, I remember how much I love this movie. It's fantastic. I personally watched Carry On Netflix, which, watch out, Die Hard.
Is it about luggage?
It is about luggage. Yeah, because I'm not going to ruin it for you. You're never going to watch it.
You won't ruin it for them.
This guy is trying to get a piece of luggage through as carry-on, because if it goes through checked, then they automatically scan it. So it's like a thriller, and he's trying to get this luggage through. And
is there a human child in it or something?
No.
Okay.
No, there's not a human child in it. But it is a thriller, and it's really good. And I think that it's on par, if not, dare I say, as good
Christmas Eve?
as... It's happening on Christmas Eve. And so it is as much a Christmas movie as Die Hard, which you could say and make a strong argument for, that it is more, Die Hard is more Christmassy than most Christmas movies. But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to talk about those things that we haven't seen.
I don't even think that's a debate anymore. Everybody has firmly decided that it is a Christmas movie.
No, ma'am. I wish that it were that cut and dry, but it's not. Let us know out there in Candyland.
I feel like I know what you're going to say.
What?
That it is.
Oh, it absolutely is. That's what I just said.
I would say that it's not, but I have heard some very strong arguments that I just have to give it to you. Yes, it's fine. It's fine.
People have said that it's
a Christmas movie. That is not for me.
It is not Christmas until Hans Gruber has fallen off the tower.
Okay.
So anyway, we also haven't watched 8-Bit Christmas, and that one kind of hurts my heart.
Maybe, y'all, my hair. Okay.
Jeez, it's hot in Texas, by the way. So like this getup that we've got on.
It is supposed to be 80 degrees around New Year's.
I don't like that. I don't like it. We had like 3 days of cold.
Yeah. That's why I made sure that I made the tomato soup and the grilled cheeses on a cold day.
We made fire. We did a whole bunch of stuff. Like I feel like I was burning something almost every day, whether it needed to be burned or not.
We can talk more about that later. Save it for the podcast. Okay. We have not watched 8-Bit Christmas, which I think
tonight. Watch tonight.
Watch tonight. We love that movie. Yeah. That is the favorite.
Best Christmas movie I think exists.
That people still don't know about somehow.
It's on HBO Max, and so that's probably why.
It's on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry, that's gross.
Caroling.
Yeah. Wait, you skipped one.
Well, they don't know what the list is. We can always look and go back and do the other one.
Okay.
Way of Lights. We haven't gone out and done like Christmas lights looking and watching.
Yeah.
The one time that
But we've been driving between here and Dallas a lot.
We've seen a lot.
We've seen some really enormous,
extravagant,
Christmas displays, like whole fields of Christmas.
The one time I was driving through a neighborhood looking at Christmas lights, you were like, "You need to go faster. Your son has to pee."
Yeah, because
which I said, this is his penance.
Our children consistently, you know how like suddenly you say it's time for bed and they're all thirsty or something?
I'm familiar with that.
Saying we're leaving this place, wherever it is, does the same thing to my children. They'll like get out to the car and then be like, "Mommy, I have to go to the bathroom so bad." And I'm like, you are a school-aged child. You can hold it for 15 minutes. But also you were like, let's drive 10 miles an hour through this neighborhood and look at Christmas lights. When I'm like, it is a 20 to 25 minute drive home. And your son has said he needed to pee.
Yeah, we're learning about consequences.
And we have another sibling who will like talk about waterfalls and
That's different. I'm trying to bring joy to at least one of them. He's trying to make the other one pee their pants.
Pee his pants. Yeah. Well,
caroling.
We have not. When's the last time we went caroling though?
It was several years ago. I think it was pre-COVID, honestly. What we like to do is we like to go caroling and take those fake snowballs and carol and then just like pelt people and then run away.
We just hold them behind our back the whole time and then we throw them at them.
It's grand. You should do it. It's wonderful. I know that JCPenney's had a bunch of those packs on sale for a while there. Hey, and then we have not finished. Are you giving up on that hat already?
I just can't. It's just bothering me so much.
Oh, come on.
We
were just talking about this, how like I look ridiculous. I'm in a romper.
I'll put it back on later.
I have to wear sweating pants for everybody else. And I don't know what happened. Maybe this thing got caught in the dryer. It's a little tighter than it was the last time I put it on.
It's polyester.
So it shrinks. It shrinks more.
No, it does not. It does not shrink.
And so I look like an absolute doofus because I don't have any actual Christmas getup.
Well, you should be like me. Which can you? Okay, I have to tell you about this here Christmas sweater that I'm wearing.
It's a nice one.
I'm really excited about it. I got it from the thrift store.
Yep.
More on that later. And it's just so me because it has an embroidered Santa Claus, but like
legit embroidered.
Like maybe like he's wearing green. He's kind of like woodsy.
Yeah, like a Saint Nick.
Like a Father Christmas instead of a Santa Claus.
Yeah, it's not Santa Claus.
Maybe. And also is the turtleneck. And it has shoulder pads.
It does have shoulder pads. I reached over and put my hand on your shoulder one time and I was like, wow, when's the game?
Yeah. So this is like authentic, probably maybe early 90s.
It's nice. Yeah.
And I think it's so great. I was like, this thing needs to live with me. Yeah. And I have not regretted it even one time.
Mm-mm. What was it, $7 or something stupid like that?
Everywhere I go. And I'm like, that's a good sweater. Like, yes, it is. Thank you for noticing.
Has anybody asked you if you made it? I'm sure somebody has.
I don't know. Every time they say that, I just say, I got it from the thrift store.
Oh, yeah. It didn't make it. Wasn't me. Somebody else's mom made this.
Yeah.
But speaking of Christmas sweaters, we haven't finished decorating. And I thought that we had. And then I'm reminded that we haven't. Not just because you said that, but because your daughter is constantly asking me, hey, Daddy, today are we going to put up the stockings?
Yep. The stockings are not up. They are not hung by the chimney with care. But there's also like a whole bunch of things like little lamps and pictures and all kinds of, all of our knickknacks are not out.
I don't know.
Which is not like a deal breaker.
I think we'll just do the stockings.
But it's like all of that stuff is in our house. It's just in bins. Because
it's in the house.
If we can transition just a little bit, the reason why we have not been able to do any of the normal things. Let me say something real quick because before we get into why we haven't, let's say what we have done. I put Christmas lights around the whole exterior of the house. I was gonna tell that part.
It just felt like you were burying me pretty deep there before we got into things, and so I just wanted to say that I have done things.
That I was burying you?
Yeah, well,
no. Listen,
I get the bins down.
Listen, Linda. You usually say that to me, and I'm going to say it to you this time.
My own
listen, Linda.
Swords against me.
Okay, so it has been a little crazy. Now, I don't just hear this. Like, this is not just us. I keep hearing this from other people around. I think that the way that Christmas fell this year, or not Christmas, but like Thanksgiving. Christmas is always on December 25th.
Every year.
Thanksgiving kind of hops around a little bit. And it was quite late. So it's just been a weird transition. Like school break has been a sort of strange time frame.
Oh man.
Also, our church does a Christmas musical every 2 years.
You won't believe that I forgot that happened.
Shut your face.
You won't believe it.
What?
Continue with your story. I just wanted to interject.
This is a Christmas musical year. Not only was it a Christmas musical year, but the directors of said musical, their daughter was getting married. And she asked to get married what had been scheduled as the week of the musical. So we moved to the whole musical, but it meant that we were like, it was like wedding. I think we had one wedding and then we had the musical. Or no, we had Thanksgiving, wedding, Thanksgiving, musical, wedding. Like boom, 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 4 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And
different weddings.
Yeah. It was just, we were like, oh, what do we have to do tomorrow? Though. Yeah.
Both were staff kids.
Yeah. So
we should have known
we
better.
were getting ready to leave on Thanksgiving. And as I'm sure we have mentioned, you longtime listeners might remember this. We are day after Thanksgiving decorators.
We are. Avid.
That is my tradition. It is intentional because I came from a family that rest my sweet mother's soul. she was not a planner, really.
Never how I would describe her.
There were many Christmases that it would just kind of sneak up on us. We might have been like a week and a half before Christmas or something and be like, are we going to put up a tree?
We're still doing Christmas this year?
Yeah. And so I'm like, no, if we're going to go through all the work of putting up the decorations, we're going to have them up for a while.
Yeah.
And so we have Thanksgiving, and then the day after Thanksgiving, we put the decorations up, and it's great and it's fun.
I'm here for it.
But this year, we were having Thanksgiving in a different place, and we were not going to be home the day after Thanksgiving. And then we were going straight into dress rehearsals for the musical. Straight into dress rehearsals. And I looked at you and I was like, we were like talking about the window of time that we need to pack our things to go on a week-long vacation.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know if Christmas decorating is happening this year. And Bubba was like,
hold my
hear
eggnog.
me out. What do you say that instead of washing all and folding and packing all of our laundry and getting ready to leave tomorrow or sometime, we just back burner all of that and we decorate for Christmas? And I couldn't say no because
how do you say no to that? You don't.
I didn't. Like, sometimes I feel like maybe I should have.
No,
but I know that Christmas decorating is maybe more important to you than it is to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because why?
Because it's always so hard for me to get into the Christmas spirit, period. End of story. What day is it? Doesn't matter what day it is. What's the event? What thing am I doing? Don't ask me what day of the week it is. Don't ask me kind of what month we're in or what day it is. None of that. Just, I'll tell you what I'm doing next, and then you can tell me what day it is. And that's usually how we would communicate with each other. So it's always been difficult for me as an adult to get into the spirit of Christmas. Decorating helps me do that. It is a legitimate, constant reminder of everything around me that, hey, things are different, right? I
theorize that some of your only happy memories as a child are also surrounding holidays.
Also trauma. Yes, that I buried the lead on that one. Yes, but bless you.
I am so sorry, everybody.
Yeah. Again,
a little under
widow
the weather.
Widow sick.
A little under the weather.
But so, I mean, like for me, some of the things that have gotten in the way of really everything, even recording this here podcast, I made a quick list here. Travel, with 2 weeks on a European travel schedule. Bananas.
It was
absolute bananas.
That trip was so long.
It was so long. It was not a short trip. We got a lot of programs that we're doing here at Love Thy Nerd, partnerships that we're working on, speaking engagements that I've been doing, content that we've been creating here. NCMS was its own bubble of beautiful, wonderful chaos. That was fantastic. You should go check it out. ncmsummit.com. You can watch the whole thing right now. But working on putting that together. The Minecraft League that we actually just wrapped yesterday at the time of this recording. It was only 3 weeks, but it was all the time and energy and effort that went into that to making sure it happened. Like we would be away somewhere else doing something with family and then being like, we have to leave now because I have a stream tonight.
Yeah.
And so like those things kind of lord over me a little bit. Extended family, holiday travel. And this isn't just like going to see people. It's also making time just to talk to these people on the telephone and stuff like that during the holiday season. The more involved you are with people in your family, the more people you have to talk to on a more frequent basis. It's this catch-22. I love it. But making space for all that in the midst of all this is really just difficult. Fall for me was just absolutely slammed, packed. November to December, it was just an absolute blur. Like literally, we are 2 days before Christmas, and I'm like, I know there's something I forgot. I'm positive there's something I forgot. And you know what?
It's just time to let it go.
It's just going to get forgotten because my body is just now starting to be like, okay, two days? My kids are letting me know. I don't forget, but 2 days, right? And then on top of that, your schedule.
Right.
So even if there is a break in my schedule, then you're like, hey, actually, I'm doing this, or we've got this thing coming up, or PJ's got this performance, or,
Well,
kids
because
are
some
doing
of
this,
your
or
fall you
da-da-da-da.
planned around me, you missed It's a Wonderful Life 2 years
Yep.
ago.
2 years ago, I missed it when you were the female lead.
at a show, which was the same show that you are scheduled to be on that week. And I was the lead in the musical this year.
They are always, for whatever reason, these shows, don't rename me if you're listening. These shows are always, it won't happen this time, but they have traditionally been on the same exact week as my favorite show of the whole year, PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And so I chose poorly to go to PAX Unplugged, and I missed her being the female lead. And so when this came up this year,
I was like a co-lead in that one, but this one it was like the real deal lead.
this show, she was the Christmas Post. She was the lead, right? And I decided immediately when you got that I was like, I am not going to go and do that.
Which, thank you.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I did that. Do I miss that show? Absolutely. I heard a lot of great stories and everything, but we'll get to that here in just a minute. But like I had to make decisions on the things that were calling for my attention and pulling me in all these different areas and directions. And what ended up happening was that they didn't need me at that show. Would it have been good if I was there? Yeah, would have been great. Did they need me? No, absolutely not. But I feel like I have to be at these places and doing all these things. And so like it's a thing that keeps us busy. And that's the word, right? Like that's the word. I hate that word. Like biblically hate that word with the burning fury of 1,000 suns. Because I feel like when you use that word, it's always negative in context. Hey, how you doing? Nobody's like, I'm busy. I'm so busy. It's like,
or if we're talking about 2-year-olds, woo, they're busy.
They're busy.
I'm the busy one.
And so it's always has a negative context with it. And so what I've tried to use lately is, hey, I'm staying active. I'm keeping moving forward. We got a lot of things going on, that kind of stuff, because that's like progress, at least in my brain. It at least shows positive movement. Whereas busy, somebody not too long ago, Jeff Grant from Crew, one of my good friends, he mentioned the word busy stands for bound under Satan's yoke. And I'll be honest with you, that kind of made me go, ugh. Because I don't like that kind of Christian-ness in literally everything that I do. But then I thought about it. The brain works so fast. It was in that same conversation that we were talking. And I was like, man, that's actually the perfect way to put that. Like, this is not life-giving. Staying busy, having all of these things, not just the things that you quote unquote need to get done, but all of the things that are extra fluff, the things that create social and emotional and spiritual burnout, right? Those things that we put on ourselves and that not necessarily anybody else is putting on us. Like if we feel like we have to be at these things. That was me with PAX. If I had gone to that show, it actually wouldn't have done nearly as much good as me staying and not being at that show did with you and the family, because it ended up like relieving not just the stress of your husband not being at your performance, but I was able to stay home with the kids. We actually ended up booking another trip with your dad and your stepmom, and it was like everything was great and fantastic, and those things wouldn't have been able to happen if I wasn't here, right? So it created some space for you to be able to just focus on the show, which, by the way, was bananas. It was so good. We are now, I don't know how many weeks removed, 2.5 weeks-ish removed from it.
Is that all?
Yeah.
It was the first week of December.
People are still coming up to us and being like, oh, your wife did so well. Anna, you did so great in that show. So if you had a chance and you were able to see that, good for you. If not, I don't even know if you will see it. I don't know how that's going to go down. It was recorded, but I don't know if we're allowed to post it on the internet, licensing, stuff like that. I'm not sure. It's a super gray area in a lot of places. But
I think because this particular show is not still being sold, you're allowed to post it.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you might see it. Yeah. But hey, all of that being said, I think that the understanding that we are busy, all of us are busy, right? At some moment in our lives, we're busy with family, with work, with church. Even you can be busy with church. Oh boy,
Goodness.
Can you be busy with church? Somebody once told me that one of the things that Satan loves to do is to keep us busy with church things, right? And I don't know that has ever been more true for me than when I was on church staff. And I'm not saying that this is what happens on every church staff, but again, don't ask me what day it is. Just ask me what the next event is. Like, that's how I live my life. And I know that is true of so many other people that are in that space. But even when you're not, even when you are, you're a congregant, you are a church member, you're a church goer, there are so many things for you to do day in and day out. I have to make sure I'm at every Wednesday night Bible study. I've got to be at every Sunday evening thing. I got to be at every Sunday this. I got to do yada. I got to be on all the mission trips. Like, you can stay completely busy. And I think that even with sometimes in that stuff, we need some breaks as well. We'll talk about a little bit of that here in just a second. But you challenged me to an arm wrestling contest.
And I won.
Yeah. And the arm wrestling contest was actually, hey, Bubba, I'm reading this book.
Mm-hmm.
You should read this book too. And the book is John Mark Comer's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
Yes.
And it's not a competition, but I started after you and finished before you.
I mean, so I read books physically.
Yeah.
And Bubba audibles them.
Yep.
And you can do that at 2 times speed. And he also has a lot more time in his day that I think he doesn't have to be, like, a lot of what I do has to do with words and writing things and names and all kinds of stuff that I need my whole brain. So I can only listen to like non-lyrical music at work. I can't have any more input of words.
Music, yeah.
So an audible at work for me is a definite no-go. So
John Mark Comer would spit directly in my face if he heard that I had read his book on Audible at 2 times speed.
Yes,
his book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. I read on 2 times speed.
So but
I retained it. That's all that matters, right?
Probably some of it. Maybe not.
I retained a good amount of it.
I probably haven't retained all of it either. I was gifted this book by a friend. Gosh, it's been years. It's been years ago. And I've been too busy to read it. And, but I've always wanted to read it. And so, when I got my job, it's weird how much pressure I felt with which books would get to be on my work shelf, my work bookshelf. Because I was like, the books that are on your shelf are about identity. Like, this is the kind of person I am. And so I had things like, Anne of Green Gables. I love Anne of Green Gables. I have My Utmost for His Highest, which was really important to me while I was at mission year.
Yeah.
I have Theological Worlds, which is going to be my next book that I actually finish.
There's no way. Why do you even say that out loud? It's not true.
I am.
That book is so dense.
It is dense. And a few others. 1,000 Gifts, I think, is another one I have up there. Just books that have been significant to me and my spiritual formation as an adult. And I put the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry up there because I wanted to read it.
Yeah.
And so I dropped the kids off at school, and many times I'm at my desk by like 7:45. Technically, the office doesn't open until 8:30. But I'll usually start working around 8. I start early and leave early. So, because I have to pick up the kids from school again. So, I have about 15 to 20 minutes a lot of times in the morning to just like get in a good place. And so I was like, I'm going to start reading through this 15 or 20 minutes. So it's taken me a long time. I'm like, oh man, I really want to talk to Bubba about this because it makes me want to change my whole life.
All
like
of it.
Everything that I do.
Yeah.
Only I can't do that without you also doing that. I think that I've tried to do certain things and force changes, and that has not gone very well in the past.
To be fair, again, as part of my travel and speaking engagements and stuff, I had to drive from where we are here, doing the hat again, giving your head air out a little bit. I had about a 4-hour drive each way. And so it was 8 hours in the car. Knocked it out. Not even a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I actually read 2.5 books.
Yeah, you probably did.
That day. Yeah.
Well, so the premise of this book, like the things that the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, if you have never read it, is about it's about how Jesus lived his life. And while he may have been busy, he certainly was always doing thing after thing after thing. Hurry, that like franticness,
just was never fast.
Was not part of what he did.
Yeah.
And his disciples got in that space sometimes, but that he really wasn't. And so the concept of like taking time alone, the concept of even if I'm on my way to a thing, that thing is not more important than the people around me right now. For instance, like needing to go and heal people who are dying, but he still is going to be like, I'm still going to take time for these people right here. So it's about our culture too, and how we are just not that way. That we live our lives very busy. So for me, like as I read books like this, I gravitate toward books like this because I think I probably had a slower childhood than many of my peers, like many people who are my age.
Yeah, I did not.
Yeah. I grew up in a home that didn't have television. Grew up in a home where we literally, like we had a hobby farm and we would do the whole process of creating yarn from like a sheep to a sweater.
Yeah.
I know how to do all of that. All of that is slow. Just slowness was just part of my upbringing.
I saw the carding process. That's what it is. They cart the wool and all that stuff. I saw that entire process on 5-minute crafts on a video on that. Yeah. And I'm constantly furious at 5-minute crafts. Constantly. Like anytime it comes on, I sigh, I grunt, I yell, I say that they need to be stopped because we watched one where it was like, hey, here's how to create
that one was dumb.
Hiking shoes that are bags of pasta. And it was just ridiculous. But one of the things that they did right was they showed the carding process. And I thought to myself, like, so many people are going to look at this and go, that's ridiculous. Nobody does that. And I want to be like, well, some people do though.
Some people do. So,
but it is a slow down kind of, like you can't rush that. Can't rush the dyeing. You can't rush
we have rushed it in that we've created machines to do a lot of those things. But, as you think about like consumerism and stuff, even though there are machines, there's also still people having to run a lot and more things that are done by hand, but just we're not really paying people to do them. But we consume at such a rate that it seems like nothing, but it really is.
Yeah.
So anyway, I gravitate toward these kinds of books. You don't.
Not necessarily, no.
And things that are like take technology breaks and all kinds of stuff. And we've talked about that on this podcast where you're like, absolutely not. And when you read the book, weren't necessarily like absolutely not.
No.
For the first time, I think since I've known you, and I was like, what? What? Really exciting. I think we just kind of feel a need for a change from how things are.
Well, I'm older now.
You are older. We are both older.
I'm older than I used to be.
Yeah.
And so like the concepts and the ideas that he brought up in the book and brings up in his, lectures and sermons and stuff is something that resonates with me. The more busy my life gets, the more full of things my life actually gets. And so where I'm like, no, I'm totally fine. I've got plenty of time. Everything's great. It's like, we were just talking the other day about Sylvie, our dog. And I'm like, man, I remember when she was this big, she was a runt. She was so small. I remember when she was this big,
literal runt. She was.
And now she's this big.
Yeah.
I have no memory of the in-between time. What is happening there? And so I think it's because of all of the things and the stuff in the in-between. And it's not just stuff that takes up time. It's even the things that you and I decide, and you and I, viewer and listener, that we decide to put in the times of free time and times of Sabbath and, non-busy moments that are, maybe a bit of escapism, like our Pastor Ross was talking about, in church yesterday, where I don't think that everything we do is to escape or even purposefully escaping, but I think that it's just such a natural thing for us to do, to be like, I have this tiny moment. I'm just going to not think about any of the things that the world, or, not the world at large, but even just my little world around me wants me to think about. I've got a little bit of time, man. I could be writing that article. I've got a little bit of time. I could be, building that thing, or I could be, doing this extra, whatever I have to do. But just taking that time to go, maybe there are other things that are restful, but still selfless in that moment that could be done. And so I don't know. That was just some of the things that I was thinking about.
Yeah. And he talks about that, like when we're deciding about what constitutes a Sabbath activity.
Yeah.
I think the way he defines it is this something that is restful to me and worshipful to God, which can be, you can kind of frame that any way that any way you want. Folding laundry in the right frame of mind could be worshipful to God.
Yep.
And if you find that relaxing, have at it. But the first thing that I did on my first half day of Christmas break was go out into my garden and just cut back all of the, just clear all of the stuff that we'd had to freeze and it was dying, and just clearing it out. And that might not be very fun to some people, but for me, I was like, this feels so very good.
That was kind of a change that I had to make in my mind, right? I don't want to necessarily say in my heart, because I think it was just like a cognizant decision that I made, that I used to get mad. Here we go. Here's the therapy part of Church Nerds. I used to get like mad and angry when you would have days and time off and you're like, all right, everybody, let's clean the whole house. I'm like, I don't speak English. I'm sorry. I can't. I don't know what you're talking about.
Because you wanted me to rest the way you rest.
Chill. Yes.
Which is
to do nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. And so it's probably been, honestly, within the last year-ish that I'm starting to understand, okay, this is how you rest. You can't rest until the house is clean. You can't rest until the laundry is folded, or until your garden is tended to, or whatever it is. And so trying to find ways to be like, okay, well, I'm not just going to let you do your own thing. I'm going to join you in that, because I'm not trying to help you isolate, and I'm not trying to help myself isolate, which I could. I could just come in here and play video games or watch shows or get lost in YouTube for 1 billion hours. I could do all of those things, but it's like a decision that I'm making to be like, oh, okay, hey, I actually want to spend these moments with you. And those moments, I don't want to romanticize it, okay? I'm not like, now those are my restful moments too, okay? But those moments are becoming more restful to me because you and I are not like at odds in those moments.
Yeah.
Right. But if you wake me up and the first thing is like, hey, let's go do some of the things that are restful to me, it's just not going to end well. I'm not going to lie about that one. That one, I will die on that hill.
Well, like this morning, for example, I have been kind of every day of break. It's like, hey, everybody, let's just have a little bit of cleanup time. It's not long. It's like 15 to 20 minutes of everybody working together. And we get the house kind of cleaned up. And that way I do feel like I can enjoy things, that the table is clean so we can play a game, or we could do a craft, or we could do, whatever as a family, instead of me feeling like I just need to be going in circles in the house and cleaning things up, which a little bit of that is okay, but all day of it is just, it's no fun. So, I would say too, that going into reading that book and then going into the Christmas season was challenging, because a lot of it is about simplicity.
Yeah.
And I also have watched a documentary called Buy It Now, about Amazon Prime, and what that has done to us and our culture. And like, I can just buy a thing and have it shipped to my house. And then like, there's this, because of the way that marketing has affected consumerism, and that we always feel like we need new things. And then also everything that they're making these days are literally made to break and be replaced. It's like, it's very stressful to me. It's very stressful to me. And that's been like a long time that I felt that. Like, I can remember walking into Walmart and feeling this deep sense of overwhelm, almost despair.
Yeah.
At like how much stuff is everywhere that even isn't going to be bought, and it's just going to end up in landfills and stuff.
Yeah.
And I might sound like super environmentalist and stuff, but
that's okay.
It's just on my mind all the time.
Stewardship,
So, thinking about like, okay, as we prepare for Christmas, again, like I can't just decide we're going to do this thing, and then the whole family is like, yeah, we are. Like if I'm like,
Psych.
Hey, everybody, we're going to have one really great gift for each of you this year, when that's never how we've done it.
Never.
That would be a hard sell.
Yeah. And
so I'm like,
that gift is a crisp high five.
What do we do? How do we do this? Or even, we're having all these parties and Christmas parties and stuff. And a lot of times we feel like we need to give people stuff. And oftentimes that stuff is like basically garbage. And like, how do I accept those gifts without feeling guilty? Because I also don't think the answer is to make that person feel like garbage for giving me the garbage.
Sure.
Because I have a friend who has a minimalist sister-in-law, and they like live in fear of her every Christmas. They're like, we're afraid to give her gifts. We don't know what to get her. And she's always like really mean about it. And I don't want to be that person. I like people to think of me. I like people to be thoughtful, but like, even how do I accept gifts is like a thing on my mind after reading this book. And it shaped a bit the way that we went into like purchasing for this Christmas.
Yeah, it did. You got to be like me. My spiritual gift is receiving.
Yeah.
And so I am how the Lord made me. Some of the things,
cash, we can just give cash to everyone, but also that's super boring.
Dude.
Boring.
No. Let's normalize that. Let's normalize giving cash. Like, as long as it's enough cash to get the thing, right? That's all that matters. Some of the stuff that I pulled out of this book, and it's not just out of this book, but like just different concepts, and it made me think about a lot of stuff, was really removing the things that collect space and time in our lives, right? And so in order to do that, like, we have to make space for the things that actually require more emotional bandwidth in our lives. And I don't think a lot of times I think about that very often. It's making time for the things that we actually want to do, that are going to be a little bit more difficult to say, hey, we are going to go on this Thanksgiving trip with your family. That's time, it's money, it's, a lot of emotional bandwidth in that one. as most families are when you get together, right? Like that's just the thing, is you have a lot of competing ideas and experiences and, just things that are going on in their lives happening all at one time. And everybody trying to be really nice and smile. And then one thing happens and boom, powder cake kind of a deal. So it's not really, this is what I realized. It's not just about saying no to the things that you don't want to do, or saying no to the right things in your life that should kind of go away. But it's about saying yes to the right things in your life, these things that you want to pour into. And I wrote down a couple here, and these are like very specific things to us. Anna was talking about those weddings that we went to. Both of those weddings, I was like, man, we have to go to that. And it's not like, we have to go to that. No. We have to. That is the most special time for those people in their life up to that point. May not be the most impactful, giving your life to Christ and all that stuff. That's probably more impactful than, your wedding, but it is the most meaningful point in that person's life. And if they go out of their way to invite you, I looked at you and I was like, yeah, we go to those. Like we make time, and people will come up to us and be like, oh, thank you so much for coming. And it's like, no, we would not have missed these things for the world. And after the most recent one, it was like, man, I had this just like deep emotional experience after that, because like on a really like legitimate level, it was an invitation into that moment when I hadn't received an invitation from somebody who I had expected that invitation from, who you could say was closer to me, right? Mm-hmm. And so this person chose for us to be there, chose us over probably other people to be there. And for me to look at that as something else that's on a calendar, that's just not the correct way to look at that.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we got invited recently to a young girl's birthday party, to which she said, I didn't invite you, which was just the best.
She was turning 7.
Yeah.
So.
But her mommy invited us. And when we got there, there wasn't a bunch of people. It was us, our family, one other person, and their family. And I was like, oh, yes, we absolutely say yes to these things, which we had already decided before we got there. But it was just like solidified that, like, man, like people are trying to be really intentional with asking us to be here. And whether they actually mean the things that I'm taking out of this or not, we say yes to those things because those are the things to say yes to. We also say yes to some of the programs that happen, that maybe we don't necessarily want. Man, do we need another thing to go to this evening? Or do we need another thing to take a chunk out of our day to make sure that our kids see us at a birthday party for Jesus or something like that? And then I get there and I'm sitting next to another young kid who's waiting for his parents to be there, and they never show up. And I'm like, we say yes to these things, right? Like the things that actually matter, that are going to take a little bit more from us, but our presence, us actually being there, we're not getting lost in a sea of people or things. Like there's very significant impact to the people that we are there for. And so that was some of the stuff. And even like just recording this podcast. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We love doing this podcast. And it's not just because this is the only time we get to talk to each other. That used to be the case. It's not necessarily the case anymore. But we love doing this. And so even then, like Anna's like, man, I'm a little bit sick. I'm like, well, do we record? She's like, we record. We do this. It's not because there's nothing else that could fill this time, but it's because this is something that means something to us. And so many of you have asked for it. I don't understand why. I don't get it.
It's probably your romper.
It's my, they wanted to see, just ask, I'll send you a picture of the romper.
The romper did originate in, not a church nerds, but it was a stream
an LTN
that we
thing.
did together.
Yeah. Oh, that was the glitter beer.
It was a game church thing.
Oh, it was game church. Good call.
Yeah.
But anyway, at the end of all this, like we can't completely declutter our lives, right? But we can work towards all of that. We can work towards taking things out. And I recently actually saw a tool that will take your Steam library, which is your PC gaming digital library, and it'll evaluate that thing for you. Okay. And so like the reason this is going to be important is because clutter is not just the actual physical things in your life.
We have plenty.
Of which we have so much. We have board games all over the place, her books everywhere, just junk as far as the eye can see. But I had my Steam library evaluated. Do you want to hear? You want to hear how it came out?
I don't know if I do.
All right, check this out. So it takes and it tells you how many games you have. Okay. Mm-hmm. I only have 65 games in my Steam library, which people are like, oh my gosh, 65 games. And
I know that's probably nothing in the world of like
exactly
your kind of people.
Yes. My people are like 65 games. What a fake gamer. Fake gamer. The value, this is really what it does the best. The value of my Steam library is $348.
Okay.
Total value. Okay.
Okay.
And one of the other things I think is pretty cool is that it tells you here the value of games that you have not played. So your unplayed games, right? The things that we just take and we collect and we put into our libraries and we never play.
Yeah. Your shelf of shame.
Guess how much?
$200.
How dare you?
What?
$76.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's still
like
only a few games.
It's like one major AAA title, right?
Yeah.
Some people's is ridiculous. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Hey, I think we're getting a visitor.
A Christmas elf.
Hey,
hello.
Peach. Hey, it just wouldn't be a Church Nerds episode without PJ.
Hey, guys.
And so, yeah. Okay, PJ. Hey, we're recording a podcast. Can we? There's Caleb.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
Be right back.
Okay. Hey, see ya. But one of the things that I wanted us to kind of take out as Anna's going and taking care of PJ, and we keep all this stuff in. We used to cut it out, but now we're leaving it in because we think this is the content that you guys are here for. This is what you want. My Steam library may not be big, but there's still some room for me to kind of get in there and maybe play some of the games that I have. I don't even know what those games would be. It doesn't give me that breakdown. Welcome back, Anna.
Hey.
But the thing that I wanted us to pull out of this was that like physical things are really easy to see that they're not getting used. Like we can literally go out there and look at our shelf and go, oh, look at all of these games that we never, ever, ever, ever play, ever. Some of them are still in the shrink wrap, right? With digital content, I think I know that it's a lot easier for us to just collect things. Us nerds who like to go through like Humble Bundle or like when things are cheap or, Epic Games right now is doing a free game every day leading up till Christmas, like that kind of video. You can pad your library, right? And just hoard. I think that those things, the digital things, in the same way that the social things, the emotional things, and the spiritual things are a little bit harder to see where the clutter is coming from, where the baggage actually is.
I mean, like this happens everywhere. I mean, you're talking about $76 or whatever of unplayed games. That's way, way less money than what I have in Fabric that I haven't made anything with.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you did.
I mean, that's something that's been on my mind is like, since I started my job, I haven't had time to do some of the things I really love to do, including sewing and stuff. And so when I first started, I was not ready to like let go of any of that stuff because it's like, well, I don't know what I might have time to do. The answer is nothing. I have time to do nothing. It kind of kills me, but I'm having all these thoughts that are like, is this a good use of space? Is this just having these things, like, could they be used elsewhere better? Like, is it fair for me to have this entire room, basically? It's not the whole room, but when we need space for other things in our house, maybe, and how could I pare it down? We have our friends lists that are way too big. We have our calendars that are way too full, where it's like, yeah, does this legitimately add any value?
Usually not.
Any of my life. Yeah.
Usually not. It's to pad numbers. It's to create fluff. For me, it's the presence of board games and stuff like that. But even then, it just looks like garbage. It's legit clutter. And I think that filling my life with things like that, not just the physical things, but the programs and people that need me and the places that, are calling for my attention and all sorts of stuff. It's an ego boost for me.
Vanity.
It's vanity. But all it does is create more clutter and less time for the things that actually matter.
Well, Solomon.
Yeah. And so
his friends list was too long too.
Yeah, well, a lot of lists were too long. And so some of the things, you guys know, like church nerds, this is not where we come up with all of the fixes and we don't give you details. Like these things are usually descriptive, not prescriptive, stuff like that. But here's some things that work to kind of help identify and fix these things that come up in our lives as needed. Your mileage will vary on all of these things. And there are even some of these things on our list that we're not really great at doing. And so here are some ideas of things that could help, right? This holiday season and then in the hereafter. Therapy. Don't let anybody tell you that therapy is a dirty word or that you're bad because you do it. We bang this drum a lot. While you and I have not gone to therapy together or independently or anything like that, we have talked with a lot of people who have come out of therapy.
We wish we could go to
therapy. Oh my gosh. We're not even messing around. The therapy is so expensive. So if you can flaunt your wealth enough to go to therapy, please absolutely do that.
It's therapy flex.
Yes, therapy flex.
I go to so much therapy.
Diaries. We were talking about this earlier. We listen and we don't judge.
Talking about this earlier.
We listen and we don't judge. Early on in our marriage, I used to read Anna's diary.
Which I did not know about until this afternoon.
Really? Oh man, I thought you knew. Because man, I used to get so mad. Oh my gosh. Because you would only write bad things about me in there. And I was like, why are you writing good things about me in here? It's not like a letter to Santa Claus. Like you're not publishing these works or anything like that. Nobody else is reading them. They're just for you.
I wished you would read them sometimes.
Oh, I did.
Man, here's all the things that I wish I could say, but I could never, but I wish he knew.
I did read them.
Yeah, you did.
But they just made me mad. They just made me mad. It wasn't like, oh, I should change this about me.
This is a learning experience.
Yeah.
My eyes are opened.
We listen and we don't judge. So diaries, dear diary, that's maybe something that you could do. Also, we're going to get a little Bible-y here, a little churchy, because this is what we are with the church nerds. Just time of confession with your friends. I think that is super important. It's also one of the most difficult things that you'll do is to go to somebody and not talk about a wrong that you necessarily have with them, but something that you have done to somebody else. Like, hey, I feel like I've really done this to somebody. Because what that does is it kind of opens up those moments for them to be like, you should go tell them about that. That's kind of a natural second step after you do stuff like that. And I think a lot of times we don't tell those things to people is because we don't want to hear those things. We don't want to hear the thing that we should be doing that'll help us move towards reconciliation. So confession time with friends, whether it is people that you have wronged or telling somebody else about the things that you've done wrong. Also just prayer. Like I don't want to simplify or oversimplify prayer. Sometimes we're like, oh man, hey, all I can do is pray. It's like, that's a big deal. Prayer is huge. It's powerful. Like these are the things that is like us.
I mean, if you actually do it.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, but these are the things that like we go before the creator of the universe with our hopes and our dreams and our thoughts and our desires, right? And so it's a big deal. And if we're not doing that, maybe we should start. We say this a lot. Anna and I say this a lot. Corporate worship, especially when you don't want to be there. Especially when you don't want to be there.
I would say that for small group time too.
Yeah, I think that it's on different levels though, because we can make a lot of people are really it's been my experience that people make a lot more excuses for not being at church on a Sunday. And I'm not saying, I will never say that just because you don't go to church doesn't mean you're not a Christian. Okay, I would never say that. But I do think that something beautiful happens during corporate worship times that doesn't happen in a small group time, and it doesn't happen when you're alone. It just doesn't. Pentecost needed to happen on a large scale. And so I think that something beautiful and spiritual happens in those corporate worship times. But I know that Sunday mornings are tough for people, or if your church has Sunday evenings or Saturday evenings or whatever it is that the corporate worship time is, there's a billion reasons not to be there. And a lot of them are actually pretty valid, right? But finding a way to make time for the things that matter the most. And if those times don't matter, maybe asking questions on why. Why don't they matter to me? Why don't I want to be here? What's the issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sometimes small group time and corporate worship and all of these things can add to like the busyness in our lives. I think that it's important to figure out, it's just like, am I okay with, if there are different things that just take priority, and then to kind of reevaluate that, like, I'm not going to be judgmental and say, this is how it needs to be.
Yeah.
Like you always need to be, I don't think that you're, back in the day, they had like Sunday school attendance badges and all kinds of stuff.
Bring them back.
No,
don't bring them back.
No.
Don't do that.
I'm not advocating for that kind of system where because again, that becomes sort of vanity, but it's like, is there value in this, and why in the moments, it's like those snap decisions. Why do I cut this, but I don't cut that?
Yeah.
That kind of.
Think deeper about those things for sure. And like none of the stuff that I just listed off and that we've talked about are any kind of silver bullet. They're not going to fix just by you being like, yes, I now understand that concept. Like there's work that needs to be put into it. There's thought, there's prayer, there's supplication. There's so many things that you need to do and do with other people and have other people do with you in order to make these things work. But as we move into just Christmas, right? We've been in a season of what we in the church call Advent. And Advent is not about rushing into anything. The major theme behind Advent is patience and preparation. We are making space in our lives for the thing that is the most important to us, which is the coming of the Messiah. And in doing so, we are waiting. But we're waiting with like bated breath. Like we're excited. We're not loathsome in the waiting. We're not trying to fill the waiting time with a billion other things so that when it happens, we're too busy to respond, which biblically speaking is what happened with a lot of people. They had too many other things going on that when the Messiah came, they could not receive him. Because if they did, then that meant that they would have to put away all these other hierarchies and structures, politically, socially, economically, otherwise that they had in order for Jesus to be received. And so this holiday season, take some time, do a self-inventory, right? Everybody's gearing up towards New Year's, new year, new me, that whole deal. You're going to start, exercising for maybe 3.5 days. And before you drop off, you're going to promise yourself you're going to read through the Bible. You're going to say you're going to be a better parent. You're going to be, better at work. You're going to do all these things. But I don't think that you can move into any of that until you've started to kind of create space for Sabbath, until you have ruthlessly eliminated this desire for hurry and busy and fast and full in our lives. And so this is our Christmas gift to you.
Well, so work. Well, I think one of the concepts in the book is that we're finite and we are limited, and we're constantly like, as a society, trying to work toward being limitless. And he's like, hey, spoiler, it's never going to happen. Yeah. It's never going to happen. And so as we're going into the new year and we're talking about taking an inventory, I think remembering that you are limited, that you have a capacity. You have you have capacities on your time, you have capacity on your relationships and all kinds of different things that you just can't. It's okay to look at someone else in the way that they've poured into something and be like, man, I wish I had that, but then also not. You don't have to be that person all the time.
You don't got to engage in
that. As we go into setting goals, goal setting is great. I think you're absolutely right that it's like maybe more important than what we are deciding what we're going to start doing, what we're going to start adding. Maybe it's, what do I need to take away?
Addition by subtraction.
I have a friend who every birthday, we have like time together, and she is a therapist. So, she asks, we have birthday questions. And one of the birthday questions is more of, less of for the coming year. What do you want to have more of in your life?
Yeah.
And what do you want to have less of? And I think that's a great set of questions for this discussion and going into self-evaluation and starting a new year is, what do I need more of and what do I need less of? Or what do I have to take away in order to incorporate those things?
Yeah.
Even small group time and stuff like that. We have people who have fallen off, or people who've never started small group with us, who have kind of been lurkers, who watch from the outside and really, really want it. And I'm like, here's the time and place that it happens. And they're like, I have a thing. I'm like, that's the thing about time together intentionally, is that you have to say no. Like, you have to structure some things around it. And that's okay that you don't. But if you want the benefits of it, you will have to do that.
You got to put the work in. Yeah.
And so,
yeah. So that's it. We do have a nerdy recommendation for you today.
Shocker.
This year. It is John Mark Comer's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. It is on Amazon. I can guarantee you it's on Audible. You can get it at your friendly local.
Don't buy it from Amazon. Buy it locally. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Don't buy anything from Amazon.
You can get it. Well, hey, Amazon, if you're listening, we bought
some of our Christmas gifts on Amazon.
But go if you got some time. It's not a long book. It's really not.
No, it looks like wide, like a thick book, but it's laid out in like a really easy read kind of format, and so you just kind of zip right through it. Yeah,
it's not bad, and so just go check it out.
Because he didn't want it to feel overwhelming every time you opened the book. Probably.
And it makes complete sense for him to do that. And that's our recommendation for you. And I really do mean that. Like both Anna and I have did you finish it? You finished the book?
Almost.
She's just about to finish it.
One chapter away.
Take it from me. I have finished it.
It's like 3 weeks. No,
you can trust me. It's a great book. I hope that it does some good things. Much like when we read Crazy Love by Francis Chan, it's not like, got to do all of this.
I mean, that's how I feel. I do feel like I have to do all of it.
You can't.
You can't.
But there are things that you can do and things that you can't do. And so
I think he's very good about like stair stepping you. Like, I know you can't take this drastic step, but maybe here's some places to start.
Yeah. So anyway, check that book out. Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. It's a great book. And we also have a Church Nerds memory verse.
Yeah, this one is from the book of Psalms, Psalm 46:10. You might be familiar with it. Be still and know that I am God. I will be honored by every nation. I will be honored throughout the world. Which the context of this verse, this whole chapter of Psalms, is about unrest. And it's about a world that is at war. It's about natural disaster and all kinds of ick, and about how God is our helper through all of that, and that he is sovereign over all. Yeah.
Great show. Hey, thanks for spending a little bit of your time with us. And we hope, cross my fingers here, to be back at least partially in spring of 2025. Okay.
This is news to me.
This is news to me. I'm saying it out loud. I have to manifest these things, okay? Name it and claim it.
Oh my gosh.
But if it doesn't happen, we'll be back with special
Probably
episodes,
an
an
Easter
Easter episode or something
We
like that.
tend to do Easter episodes.
Yeah.
We tend to do Christmas and Easter episodes.
We're the CEOs. Christmas and Easter onlys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
But we want to do more because we do have a lot more to say on some of these things, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be about nerd culture. Could be just heavy in the church culture stuff. That's where we spend a lot of our time, the both of us. And to be quite honest, there is plenty of nerdy content on Love Thy Nerd, creating a little bit of space for some deep spiritual stuff. I think is pretty good. So, well, hey, I think that's going to do it. My name's Bubba.
I'm Anna.
And we'll catch you whenever we catch you next time on another episode of Church Nerds. Be sure to follow on Facebook, on YouTube, social media, all that good stuff. Make sure that you are subscribed across the board so that you don't miss when new episodes go live. Not just this podcast, but all of the other podcasts that we have, all the content that we have coming out, thousands of hours on lovethynerd.com, and all the cool stuff that we've coming up in 2025 and beyond. If no one else tells you this, just remember it's true.
Jesus loves you, nerd.
Bye.
Bye.